It's a heavy hitter there now.
I thought so. For a while I didn't think that, but he's made way too many.
He's made too many enemies? Well, he's so hard line on everything.
I don't think there should be a lot of that president.
And he ain't gonna cross it. He's one guy that would never cross that aisle no matter what, so he'll never get support from the other side.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Item B is the verification of public notice and approval of the agenda.
Also move if there are no changes.
Second.
Motion by Barry and a second by Adam. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, a moment of silence to reflect on the business at hand. Item D, the Wittona Area School District Strategic Plan.
Mission statement, creating positive foundations for the success of our children.
Business and community involvement through internships, job shadowing, and mentorship.
Develop marketing in the district and community through branding.
Improve work and people skills.
Develop parental contacts promoting school involvement.
Build productive relationships with the medical field to increase the support and open lines of communication to support students with mental health issues. Item E, recognition of persons wishing to address the board. We have one person that has signed in, Allison Bowden, from Parkside. The floor is yours.
Hello. I have typed my statement just to make sure I stay within the 3 minutes. Good evening, my name is Allison Bowden. I am the 6th to 8th grade interventionist at Parkside. I would like to start by thanking the board for your continued support of our schools, community, students, and staff. We are extremely pleased to have the students back 4 days a week. Today, as you know, was the first day where we once again had our full rosters, and it was awesome. My purpose in speaking this evening is to express my gratitude for the Wednesday work days. These days have been extremely valuable on many levels. To begin, since the implementation of Wednesday work days, my virtual lessons have increased exponentially in quality. We were given the directive to make sure our lessons were instructional rather than instructions. This really struck a chord with me and caused me to carefully reflect upon the lessons I was providing for the virtual students, as well as the hybrid at the time. Since that introspection, my lessons are indeed instructional and something I would be proud to share with not only my students, but parents and other interested parties. The problematic issue that arises with quality virtual lessons is the amount of time it takes to create them. Creating the original content, providing voiceover narration, adding the elements to make the lesson interactive, creating the folder on Schoology, and then posting the lessons with the description, due dates, point values, etc. within the folder takes roughly about 2 to 3 hours for each lesson. And that is without experiencing technical difficulties, which is something for another day. Although we have significantly fewer virtual students than earlier in the year, a virtual lesson takes the same amount of time whether you're creating it for 1 student or 100 students. This is why, once again, I would like to thank the administration and the board for including the Workday Wednesdays in the weekly schedule. Another benefit of Wednesdays that I would like to highlight is the ability to meet with grade level teams for collaboration. Normally, I am not able to attend these meetings because they take place during the grade level elective time with law, which is when the core teachers have their prep. However, this is when I have the students. The purpose of this collaboration is first and foremost for the benefit of students. We are able to connect what we are doing in our classroom, promote more cohesive flow and multidisciplinary approach so students see the interconnectedness to what they are learning. Being able to attend these meetings, I can speak on behalf of my students, talking about their challenges, strengths, and what can be done to help them succeed. The Workday also allows us to provide quality feedback on the work that is submitted. A large part of learning occurs when students receive relevant feedback. Wednesdays afford us time to provide this essential element to students, both virtually and in person. It is indeed a win-win for all involved. Again, I want to thank the board and administration for providing us with these work days. It truly, truly is for the benefit of all students and is greatly appreciated by the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Item F, staff and student presentations. We have the Wittona High School choir presentation.
Yes, the choir put this together off of multiple people sending in from virtual to our in-person kids. So if you want to turn around, I'll show you this. Similar to what they're doing, and this was like a concert for them. They'll be doing another one for the holidays and things like that. But this is what they've been able to put together as being in the situation they're in, as being virtual and our cohorts on our hybrid days. So it's just something for you to enjoy, and they were very excited that we were going to be able to show it tonight to more people than just the school, and maybe anybody would watch it outside of the school. So just a little something for you to enjoy. And it is pretty amazing how they got it all put together. Do you want to just stop? And then you can click your things in.
Baby, since you left me, it's been so long since your body held me. Won't you come save me? I never was misunderstood, baby. Since the day you met me, but now I'm lost, I'm on my own, I feel so lonely. Won't you resurrect me?
Things rearrange. We miss me is not the same. I thought the value of what we had, taught my pain, caught the rain, used it to wash my wounds. Like the other side's grass wasn't as green. I blew, I grew. Took separation to get closer to you. You didn't let go, and I held on to. Your arms were my armor, calm
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
That was amazing. Great job. Soundbar wasn't quite the quality of the speakers. That we had. Other speakers that sounded good. Oh, excellent job.
Yeah, thank you. Item G, administrative reports. Tom, anything to add? Okay. Jen? Doug? Deb?
I just want to just kind of reemphasize what Allison said and just say how much we love having all the kids back at school. So it is, I know it's only been one day. Let's not go back. Let's keep them back.
Jim? I'm okay. Good to go? Jewel? Nothing to add. Okay. Cindy, you want to say anything? Sierra? Hey, moving along. Board members? Anything? Not at the moment. Student council, you're up.
Yay, it's my turn. Okay, so this is all the accomplishments as always. On November 9th, 10th, we did an activity throughout the whole high school where students guessed like the baby / toddler pictures of our staff. So it was a guest brigade that we didn't start. And Mrs. Vallejo received some really good feedback from staff and students. We had a lot of fun doing that. On December 2nd, we collaborated with the Community Blood Center and hosted a blood drive. 6 good units of blood were donated, and Mrs. Vallejo was working with the Community Blood Center managers decided we should make changes to the February drive. And then the Homecoming 2021 dates were announced, so we began brainstorming ideas for an overall theme and individual dress-up days. We will be meeting in January to discuss and vote, and will then communicate that information to the district and community. The dates are September 20th through 24th. And then future projects, community blood drive will meal in the case parking lot from 9 a.m. until noon on February 12th. And then on December 21st and 22nd, we are hosting public quarter days for the high school staff and students.
Okay, thank you.
Cover those other engagements.
All right.
Alright.
Item H, consent agenda. We have the minutes of the November 9th, 2020 monthly meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Brian. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, staffing. We have 2A1 and 2B1 and 2. That, if there's not a motion to take either of these or any of these out individually, I would entertain a motion to take A and B together.
I'll make a motion to take items 2A and B together.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, policy. Item 1, the Macomb Brooks Performing Arts Center board member.
Yeah, it's still on the consent agenda. Gary Christensen recommends Chelsea Bowler for the position.
I saw your email said, was that an addition person or she replacing somebody? I saw you had an email, but did you ever respond to that email? Oh, the answer. Wasn't like you
I don't
asked.
think so. Karen, do you know, I did not receive a response.
Okay, you responded.
Yeah.
She replaced
No, but
somebody.
now we'll have another open because Alan was passed away and he was on our board.
Was Chelsea replacing someone, Karen, do you know?
Yes, I think
Was
so.
it Sandy?
Not Sandy, the lady moved back from Madison.
so she was replacing
Okay.
something. I did not.
And now there'll be another one coming up because Alan is passed away.
I'll make a motion to approve item 2C, the Nicole Lucius Performing Arts Center board member.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Adam. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item I, action items. 1A, approve the November 2020 treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as printed.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Brian. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 1B, approve the vouchers and payroll.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers and payroll as printed.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Adam. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, approve the purchase of school bus fleet camera system.
We presented to the Finance Committee last Thursday, and our recommendation was to go with the gatekeeper system. We had a variety of reasons which are in your packet. The Finance Committee was supportive of that, and they moved forward were willing to move forward with that recommendation. So again, my recommendation to the board is that we approve the purchase of the cameras that were presented on the quote for Gatekeeper. If the board approves it, then we'll start working with Gatekeeper on a time frame to get that done in our process. It will take time, but we would move forward with that. That's good.
What was the total for the gatekeeper?
$65,000 up front, and the other was right around 55. But over a period of time for the annual service, that would be we would come back even and then go more to the positive after the 5th year. We've had Gatekeeper equipment. We're familiar with the company and the installer, and we've had good luck. We've had some of their equipment for 8 years, and it's ran well for us. It's been very reliable, and the service has been good. And our administrators are familiar with the computer platform on watching video.
For those on finance, any additional details from your discussions?
Just that a bus driver did come, a long-time bus driver, and strongly advocated for the purchase of the system and gave some good reasons as to why it protects both the district liability and bus drivers and personal liability, in addition to the safety benefits.
A little more evidence if there were an incident.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same idea, right? You got a number of these trucking companies now.
Cars, which is the equivalent of about 1.1 million cars on the road.
When you're forecasting the wind, there's so many different parameters that go.
All right, guys.
Appreciate that tidbit information.
Becky? You know, but they're doing it for the same reason, right? They don't, all of their trucks have the camera system.
The reason that police have body cams, the reason that everybody's going to that, so.
I said, well, they did this. And they said, no, actually, we didn't.
Exactly.
Here's the evidence.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve. Second.
Who seconded?
Barry.
Motion by Adam, second by Barry. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, curriculum student achievement. Approved new course proposal, computer science 1, first consideration.
All right, so you just got a little snippet preview here, but I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. I know when I was approached by various people about the potential of adding this class, I had to do a little research myself just to bring myself up to speed with computer science, and I felt like this video was helpful to just give you some context for what it is that we're looking to expose students to.
I think 19th century was about the Industrial Revolution, about electricity, about disrupting the agricultural society and making it more advanced. The 20th century was about physics and engineering to do more things easier in our everyday life, from refrigerators to washing machines. How convenient. And the 21st century is definitely the digital age. It's the internet.
Even if you want to become a race car driver or play baseball or build a house, and all of these things have been turned upside down by software.
The lettuce bot is a robot that can sense its environment. Every single hour, this lettuce bot is seeing 1.5 million plants, and it's taking individual action on those plants. We enable lettuce growers to have higher yields in their field by helping make it cheaper, by helping produce food in a more sustainable way. And that wasn't previously possible without computer science and technology.
I have a really fun job where we build Polyboard, which kind of combines all my favorite things, so programming as well as fashion, art, and design, and shopping. Half the products we use these days are software products that you play with on your phone. And so if you want to build something cool, you need to know programming, right? And there's so many things that you can do with computer science. So if you just work backwards from the cool thing that you want to build and figure out what that is, a lot of times computer programming is part of that, right? So you should learn the skill.
It's really exciting right now. The technology that we're developing right now is going to be used by your doctor in the next decade. When you come into the office and you're sick, and the doctor is going to be like, all right, spit in this cup. And I will put it into this magic machine, which is a sequencer, and in an hour I can tell you what you have or what's wrong with you. So if we're looking for a new virus, for example, we'll download a database of all the viruses that are known. And we'll search for, our sequence of interest against a whole database of all viruses. So you still need somebody to analyze the data. The computer is not smart enough yet.
Our software helps people save energy and thereby reduce their carbon emissions. To date, we've saved over 8 terawatt hours, which is the equivalent of about 1.1 million cars on the road.
When you're forecasting the wind, there's so many different parameters that go into it, it would be impossible for a human to sit down and do all those calculations. We need a computer model in order to forecast it.
I write software which scans images. Looking for bad images that we know are illegal. I work very closely with organizations like the National Center for Missing Children. I know that the work that we've done has impacted the life of people. And I feel very strongly about it because there's a lot of social problems right now that could really leverage the use of technology. It's a lot about empowering the people who are there helping the world by giving them the tools to be able to do better. That's something that we can do right now, and the tools available are huge.
The merging of art and technology is getting more and more significant now because computers and software are such an integral part of our lives day to day. People are realizing that it can be quite creative to take this medium of computers and create incredible works of art.
In Finding Nemo, when Crush and Squirt and all the friends are flying through the East Australian Current, you're seeing images of water flowing by, you're seeing the colors on the back of the turtle, you're seeing the sides of the fish. All of those things are generated through math and computer programs that we write, that we then give to the artists, and they take that to create that final image and tweak it and make it look beautiful and look fun.
The crux of it is really about invention. It's about looking at the world and being dissatisfied with things and questioning everything.
I always felt like if I didn't learn how to program, it would be like not learning how to read. The future would just be closed to me.
If you're in the coding profession, there's so many things that you can do, and you can pretty much pick and choose the course you want to be in.
I think that you can start something in your college dorm room, and you can have a set of people who haven't built a big company before come together and build something that 1 billion people use as part of their daily lives is just crazy to think about, right? It's humbling and it's amazing.
Really, it's about the chance to reinvent things and then see it out there in the world and see people using it and having fun or having a better life because of something that wasn't there before that you put in the world.
So in front of you, you have a course proposal. It's also prepared for you in your packet in preparation for the meeting. What we're looking to do is incorporate right now we're going to look to incorporate a one-semester course at Wittona High School beginning in the 21-22 school year. David Mueller, who's actually been primarily our chemistry teacher, has had some computer science in his background and has a personal interest in it. And so he is the one that we're looking to go ahead and teach this course. You'll notice we call it Computer Science 1 because we'd like to, potentially in that 22-23 school year, add on a second semester so students could potentially take a full year introductory course. I think we all have this perception of what a computer science person, right, or student looks like, or their persona. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to show that video is because it highlights the wide spectrum of fields, right, that computer science is applicable to. My brother actually just got married in July to a computer software engineer. And you would never know that she made computer software for 3M Corporation in Minneapolis, but she does, and she loves it. And she was exposed to it, just taking a course in college. And I just think we could open up a world of opportunities for our students by giving them the option to take those courses in high school. Really, in a lot of sense, it should be a liberal arts course in the fact that it teaches computational thinking, it teaches problem solving, it teaches the ability to think in sequences, solving complex challenges, being able to work backwards. I look at the opportunities we're looking to provide in our district, and I get excited for my own child who will be in 4K next year, and the opportunities that we're creating for him down the road in terms of expanding the horizons for him. So we're looking at offering this primarily to juniors and seniors. However, we do feel like if a student takes Algebra 1 and they're successful, we're looking at cutting that off kind of a year prior in Algebra 1 course. They could take it as a sophomore. And we're looking to offer it right now, again, as a one semester with the potential of adding a second semester in the following year. Right now, it's hard to gauge interest. I think part of that is educating students on what it is and why they should be interested in it, as well as educating our counselors and our staff to talk to students in that way. So we're hoping we can kind of get our foot in the door next year and then continue to potentially expand that out and generate further interest. I don't think it takes long for us to realize that most everything we do is generated by software and computers. And when we don't have it, we are even more so aware of that when we use access momentarily. So any questions on that? I guess in terms of cost, we are planning to utilize room 107 isn't utilized that much during the day, so Mr. Mueller will come out here teaching the course in that room, so we have all the computer software we need. The Java programming is free for download, so we don't need anything there. We are looking at getting some textbooks, and so there will potentially be a course there, so you're going to see that there. Currently, we are in a contract addendum and are paying for some courses to help Mr. Mueller prepare and kind of brush up on his computer science, and those are being paid for out of Title II funding currently, so that's not a direct cost of district, state, or local funds, but we are leveraging some of our funding that way to make sure he is prepared for that. We are also going to look into, I know Adams Columbia does grants every year, we are looking into potentially applying some of those to help offset some of this, as well as we're pretty confident that they would be excited to support that effort. So, any questions? I know Jennifer and Doug can respond.
And I did put in my board report that we, a large group of us met with Fox Valley Tech regarding their science, technology, engineering, and math programming. They sort of wanted to know what we were doing in our district, and they were pleasantly surprised, I think, to the things that were going on in the district. They want to help, they want to get involved more, and it may circumvent my idea of maybe going to a charter school. We may not even have to go that route. We may be able to work with Fox Valley Tech. And their central pivot, or their central concept is automation, and how automation is used in everything, obviously everything that goes on, whether it's agricultural, health science, business. So this ties into sort of where we were interested in going down that road. So just happened to be fortuitous that we didn't know where that conversation was going to go, but it definitely moved in the right direction really quick.
Yeah, I think that he will be marketing this class with a student body. And I really, the more I've learned about it, the more strongly I believe that most of our students should consider taking this course. I think it does a lot for their mind and a lot for their problem solving. Just gives them that extra vote of confidence that they can do that. I think it also ties to some of their math thinking as well as their reading comprehension. I think there's some data there that thinking correlates into helping them improve other areas as well. So really excited that we have this in the docket and we have some staff interested in making it happen.
You guys always mention too, at any point that we wanted to bring something forward that we thought would benefit, to be current and relevant with our instruction. I think this is sort of, again, one step of many steps that we want to take in that program.
I'm excited for Unit 3. I'm excited to see what that's going to be able. Just the title.
Right. I know. But I had Dave put some of this together. I'm like, but no, I'm really excited. And I think it's going to be a neat opportunity too to connect with, someone like I've already said, hey, Christy, like we're going to bring you, like you're going to come visit me for a weekend, and I'm going to talk to kids about what you do on a daily basis and the impact you can make. And just think it's an exciting field to expose our students to. So yeah, a little reminded of all in certain areas. Yeah. But I'm like, I wish I could learn this. Like I want to take this class. So all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the new course proposal, Computer Science First Consideration, Computer Science 1 First Consideration.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nicole, second by Karen. Further discussion on the topic? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved for first consideration. Thank you. Exciting. Item J, board governance. 1, information only board review of school violence drills.
According to Wisconsin Act 143, all public and private schools have to conduct at least one annual drill of proper response to school violence. We usually do more than one, but we do have to get this information into the state by January 1st, 2nd maybe. So what you have in your packet is just information only. You can look at what drills were done, what the reaction responses were to them. Eventually Ross and I have to sign those, and then I have to upload them into a system for the Department of Justice in the state of Wisconsin. But if you guys have questions about them, the administrators are here. If you have any questions regarding the drills or what took place.
Comments, questions? Item 2, information only response to citizen concern regarding face mask material safety.
Take on my facial coverage so I can project a little bit more when it's within 6 feet of me. So, last time we had a meeting, Zoran Rankovich, who was an employee of the Wittona School District, I think was legitimately concerned. He brought the facial coverage in and was concerned about what he had received to give out to students. A couple of things, and again, I sincerely do not believe he knew this, but the information he brought us was not directly connected to the facial coverings we received. They were connected to a different group of facial coverings. The facial coverings we received do not have ethylene oxide sterilization. They do not receive that. And we verified that with the state of Wisconsin, state DHS. And she wrote that sterilization with ethylene oxide is not recommended or approved for any PPE by both the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The masks that were sent to all school districts are non-medical, not for medical use, and therefore are not sterile. Therefore, the masks were not sterilized with ethylene oxide. So just so you know. And I will draft a letter for Zoran and just get it out to him. Thank him for bringing it to our attention, but the covered facial, the masks that we received are not sterilized.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions? Item 3, discussion only, legislative update.
I did put in your packet before, just from a Zoom meeting, just sort of from WASD, the legislative update, just to give you some information that they're putting out ahead of time. Go ahead, Gary.
Dr. Joan Baldwin's office today. Basically, really everybody's familiar with the budget situation. Mr. Evers, our governor, is looking to release his proposed budget. I believe it's January 13th. I had other notes and I forgot them at my business, so I apologize for that. He also mentioned, it's been documented that he's not looking to continue testing in 2021, which some of the legislature had concerns of. Speaker Voss has had strong input saying that he would like testing continued until the COVID situation is brought completely under control. So most likely testing will continue in 2021. Also, Speaker Voss, and this was a little while back, brought a bill forward due to the fact of education in our schools being virtual complete for districts that were complete virtual. He was looking to get compensation, use of some of the government money used to compensate the parents that were using, their children were 100% online education, virtual versus face-to-face, due to the fact that Bill brought the fact that they're taking on more expense, taking time away from work, possibly childcare. So when Speaker Voss brought this to the attention of the legislature, brought the bill, there was some discussion, but it lost support due to the fact that more schools are going back to face-to-face. So that it lost a lot of the steam, so it probably will not get into consideration as far as taking it to the next level. Also, Governor Evers made a comment that he still is apprehensive on face-to-face and was not sure if the time is right yet to push that issue, but from what we're seeing, more and more districts are going back to face-to-face in some, whether it be a hybrid schedule or a regular schedule, and that kind of speaks for itself. That's really about it as far as what Mrs. Ballway gave me for information. We're gonna stay in constant contact month to month now, so we'll have meetings every month between her assistant Ben and her office. So I'll be getting more up-to-date information as things go month to month. She's been really good about it. So.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Legislative update? If not, item 4, discussion only, review the Wittona Area School District Instructional Model Timeline.
We said that we would keep this agenda item on every month, at least probably through the school year, just to sort of get a good reflection of where we're at with the instructional model. Again, I would like to thank the board for continuing to challenge us and push us, to look at that in-person model. I know it seems like a year ago, but it was really only a month ago, that we discussed coming back in person, what that would look like, trying to set a date. I think initially we said December 7th. We wanted to see what it would look like after Thanksgiving. I think we got into the middle of that week, or the week before December 7th, and really there was no major push of cases. And so, as you all know, we made the decision to go to the 14th. For the most part, I think it was met with excitement. I think there was some trepidation from maybe some staff for moving forward. And I know you all know this, and for those of you who pay attention, that I'm constantly putting out data to district staff, to the Board of Education, regarding where we're at and just trending our data over time. So you have a sheet in front of you that sort of looks at our weekly quarantine numbers. As you can see, since we went into the hybrid, believe it or not, we were in the hybrid for 2 months. Again, it didn't really seem that long, but it definitely flew by. But you can see how the numbers obviously trended down as we were in the hybrid. For staff, it stayed fairly consistent for a couple weeks there. We had some kind of numbers, but towards the end, they have decreased down to 4 and 5 over the last couple of weeks. The second page on the back is a rolling total. So I don't want you to think that there was 91 students quarantined at Red Granite before November 9th, and there was 116 since. There was really 25 since that time. So I'm just going to keep a rolling average to the right. But you can see it's been pretty steady as far as students quarantined by each building. And then same with staff. You look at, maybe Parkside's a little bit of an anomaly. Parkside had 18 staff members quarantined from November 9th to December 14th. Red Granite 4, Riverview 8, High School 3, District 5, so over time. But again, you can, as we all know now, living in the pandemic society, it hinges from a million different reasons. Whether you went to someone's house, whether someone visited your house, whether your spouse works in a certain area and they got COVID and they came home, and your child got it, and who knows. So there's it seems like 100 different reasons on how you can end up being in close contact and being quarantined, and so this is just how it plays out. We deal with it as it goes, and we're just trying to continue to educate staff to make good decisions, and working with students and families. Also, you can see COVID cases, the rolling number of COVID cases over time. So, for example, since the last time we met, there's been one additional student at Red Granite, 4 at Riverview, 3 at Parkside, 10 at the high school. So the high school is sort of the outlier in that situation. Staff-wise, 5 at Riverview, 4 at Parkside, 1 at the high school. So again, nothing too significant since the last time we met regarding it. So I think sometimes, in society, or the people who aren't living this on a day-to-day basis, I think they oftentimes think, that, oh, if you have a lot of people in quarantine, then you have a lot of close contact. You have a lot of active cases. That's not necessarily the case. It's kids going home ill. It's, again, people testing in the household. There seems to be 100 different reasons why you can be in close contact. Again, some things we have going for us now, as you know, based on the letter that I wrote. We have the ability, and Nurse Carrie and I agreed on this right away before, because I wanted to get this information out to families last Monday. And so other school districts didn't take a stance on it. We took on one right away. I'm comfortable with that stance. Is that on day 6 or 7, we'll either do an antigen for our staff, or families can take their kids in and get a swab if they're a close contact, or you can do a PCR. If they come up negative, they can come back on day 8 or whatever they get the results back. If they refuse to get a test, or if they have symptoms, they have to go for 14 more days. We didn't want to get into the 10 business and saying, hey, I was without symptoms for 4 days, 6, 7 days, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We just didn't feel comfortable with that alternative. So we're going with the testing on day 6 or 7, come back on day 8. That's a game changer for staffing. And really, this is all about staffing. If anybody tells you different, they're not being honest with you. As long as we can staff the buildings, we can have school, right? And so that's really what it comes down to. So instead of staff being out potentially for 14 days for being in close contact, there's a potential they only have to be out for 7 days. That makes a huge difference for finding subs and keeping the schools open.
Tom, you said the antigen test would be pretty much widely available to the staff, at least.
Yeah, as long as we have supplies.
Yes.
Yes.
So that 45 minutes, on day 7 or whatever, they'll know if they can come.
Yeah, not even that long.
Okay.
It's quick. Yeah. So we have 2 staff members who will come in this week, get the antigen test. If it's clear on that day, they can come back to work the next day. Yep. And I feel very comfortable. And so far, we've been 100% on the antigen to PCR test. When people took PCRs after the antigen. So feeling very good about those. And again, we're wearing facial coverings, so we're still focused on social distancing and all those things, which I think has allowed us to avoid spread. So yeah, so we have some good strategies in place. So today's our first day back in person. I'm feeling confident. We know there's going to be bumps. We know things are going to occur. We're prepared to handle that, and we're committed to try to keep kids in school as long as possible. As Allison said, sometimes even that mindset of go hard for 2 days, work hard on Wednesday without kids there, go hard for 2 more days, then you got the weekend. That does a lot for morale too. Then that when we were early on in the year in 5, and all of a sudden, man, our quarantine numbers were getting up in the 300s, and it was starting to take its toll. There is something to be said about having just that 1 day break to focus, work, all the things that Allison said the teachers are doing, then come back again. So, and again, we'll always examine that Wednesday.
Is there a plan? Looking forward to second semester, I don't think inoculations will be probably realistic before the end of the school year, in mass around here probably.
Yeah.
But are we just conceding that we're going to teach 80% of the curriculum this year? We're going to have kids in the classroom second semester 80% of the time. We're going to teach 80% of the curriculum, or?
I would say yes. I would say yes right now. Yeah, but I still think we can examine it and just see where we're at. The issue I think we have is if we have kids who are virtual, we're being successful. That's where we're at now, and that's where we've really narrowed it down. We've really, I say, just kind of use the term drop the hammer on groups that were doing nothing at all. And so we've got a lot of students back in school. I mean, if you had to take a guess, Jen, how many kids are back in virtual?
I think we're at 45.
45 kids back in virtual. Parkside?
I would say around
50. Okay, Riverview?
25.
Okay.
What was your question?
How many kids do you think you got back that were virtual?
Oh, back? Like probably 10 or 15.
10, 15. So we were able to bring a lot back in.
That's great. Like I said, my concern, I think the concern that anybody would have or should have is, what is a kid that in 8th grade, my son, that has 80% of algebra look like in geometry next year?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to have to prepare for that
sure.
and determine like what course we're going to have to take to continue to make that successful.
Sure.
You know, and I think it's the discussion that's happening around the state of how to make that happen. And
I understand the need for the Wednesday. I totally can appreciate it. But again, if the COVID climate continues to trend downward in our county, at what point are we catering to, 7 or 8 people that want to keep their kids home? Kind of, we're not. As you've always said it, we're not a virtual school.
Right. To me, it's not so much, in my opinion, about the kids who are full-time virtual now. It'll be how the quarantine numbers continue to play out for us. And again, if we can keep, if we're getting adults inoculated, and that starts happening, because my opinion is most students are getting, the active cases are coming from adults, usually in their family. If the adults are getting vaccinated as we get into spring, I think it's going to drive the student numbers down, in my opinion.
Sure.
So I think it's continuing to examine those numbers.
Okay. Great.
I think that's without a doubt where they're catching. That's definitely the capacity coming at their homes. It's certainly not coming here. And the national numbers tell that.
Just to follow up to Adam's point, taking his example of 8th grade algebra with Mr. Wolf, and if we're teaching 80% of the curriculum, I'm assuming Pat is testing what he usually tests on, right? So I mean, do we get the situation where we typically have 20% of our 8th graders in the past have received A's, and now all of a sudden, because they're here 80% of the time, we're teaching 80% of the curriculum, is that number just going to be significantly lower? Only going to award 5% A's, or are we adapting, curving? Are we, and not just that class, but I'm just curious.
I can speak to that, Ross. So last year, at the end of May, we took a look at our curriculum and really honed in on what was most important. So we looked at it all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. What do these kids need when they leave Wittona schools? So we've honed in on that instructional content already. So that's what we're teaching, that's what we're assessing, that's what we're practicing. It does not mean that everything else has fallen to the wayside. We're still teaching that. We might just not be drilling it as hard as we were able to in years previous when we had more time and when our kids weren't coming in with so much missed content already. So this year, it'll be a matter of having those conversations again. What did we get through this year? How do we try and continue to fill those gaps so that they can be successful? But I don't think we can do it in 1 year.
Well, I don't think so either, and I don't think anybody on the board is. I think we have a great administration and staff in place, but these are concerns that we hear around the community, and I think it's incumbent on us to bring them to you as well. So.
And I think, Ross, going back to what you said, and I guess my answer to that was we should only be assessing what we're instructing. Like, we should not be assessing the content that wasn't taught.
Correct.
Just because we used a final exam last year, we should not be using it this year.
Right.
And that really drills down to my point that we should be. I thought I heard you say that we're basically teaching everything. We're not drilling down quite as far.
We're trying to teach as much as we can, but we're really focusing on what we consider our core standards or targets. But if time allows, we do want to touch on that other stuff that we didn't think was tier 1 priority, but we still want to get to it if possible.
I struggle with 80-20 being tier 1 versus tier whatever the next tier is. If 3 years ago 20% of what we were teaching wasn't essential to be taught, then, and I don't think that's true, but I just think we need to be careful using that language that's saying, you know, that tier 1 stuff is, that 20% of whoever was here 3 years ago where it wasn't that important. I assume it was that important.
So maybe the word prioritizing is maybe better, you know, trying to prioritize the overall instruction that has been taught in the past.
And again, I understand the dilemma. It's just I think it's so important just to get back to regular as quickly as possible.
I think everybody. I mean, Tom, do you see anything on a state or national level as far as, is there going to be an asterisk on education for this period? I mean, is there going to be, I mean, they have to be looking at it to see where the negatives fall or the drops in certain areas as far as education, because that's going to carry over to the next level.
Well, I am in college already adapting. I mean, now using the standardized tests for entrance, looking at courses that are taken, looking at how, I mean, maybe not even grade point, I mean, just you know, what's taken and you know, what's the rigor of your courses, depending on where you want to go and what you want to do. I think as far as assessment, you know, I know you had mentioned that, you know, the Republicans still want to test. Again, we're not the only ones in this boat, so, you know, given standardized tests, I think obviously the performance of standardized tests across the nation, and probably in some pockets, are going to be very poor, where they've been virtual since March and have not been in person at all since last March. You know, I think you're going to see a wide variety of data sets on how kids perform.
And any intelligence or achievement gap that already exists is just going to be exposed when we go back next year. It's unfortunate, and I think we all recognize, you know, these socioeconomic dynamics of the district that we're in, and then those that already exist are going to be deeply exposed next year.
Inequity in education is kind of like
And we talked about it. We talked about those students that were doing virtual just were not taking advantage or putting the effort in. I mean, there's going to be gaps, and some large gaps are going to be after overcome, not to let some of these kids fall too far behind or lose. I mean, I think that's got to be a huge concern. I think your good students will continue to be good students because that's their focus. I think the ones that you're going to be concerned with are the ones who are teetering on that edge, that the drive and the focus wasn't there, whether how it becomes, whether it be at home, here, their own personal view, but I think that those are the ones you're going to have to put the effort in and make sure they give the due diligence and make sure they move forward.
It makes you feel better these administrators are having those discussions.
I believe it, and I want to compliment everybody. I'm not being negative.
No, I'm saying, since last April, those are discussions that
I have all the faith with our administrators.
I totally agree.
But I think we had this discussion, whether it was last month's meeting or the month before, when we talk about, you know, just that. You know, you have higher education is no longer is going to use the ACT for the most part. You know, many schools, at least the state schools. So they're going to have what to go on? Extracurriculars and graded. So, you know, how do we make sure that we, as a district, and again, I'm speaking mostly to the high school, that we don't somehow penalize our students more than a student from Almond or Berlin or Tri-County, Wild Rose, that how do we know what they're doing? And if they're being a little bit more lenient because they're only teaching to 80%, and that kid that is trying their tail off, that usually got A's and B's and just isn't quite getting it because it's 80%, and are we going to give that person a C, right? And if that's what they earn, it's a C, and hey, we're hard and fast, then that is what it is. But if that student did that exact same work at a surrounding district or any other district in the state and got an A or a B, we've now hurt our kids. We've now hurt our students. So how do we find that balance? And we've had this discussion, and Barry brings up the people that, you know, were virtual and didn't do anything. That's a separate, and I think we've sort of handled them in a little different way with truancy letters and threats, and now we got a bunch of people back in school. But I think there's that other group of kids that it's going to get better. You know, we just want 100% improvement starting today on how much they're in school. But if we're still only teaching to 80%, I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that where are we going, when it comes down to assessment, putting that grade on the transcript, what are we going to do? You know, and I think that has to be an ongoing discussion to make sure that we're not giving away free grades, but that we're also not over penalizing our kids.
And I think another point that is going to be extremely interesting, I'd like to see how they may just, it might be a void issue this coming year, but how they assess districts on our assessment by the state, right, where they judge us according to districts as far as how we improve or how we fall back in certain areas. Is how, I mean, they can say all they want about core studies and how they focus on our students, but it's going to be different. I don't know how they're going to grade districts on performance when they don't know district to district exactly how they're dealing with the situation they're facing.
A quick example, I have a friend in Rochester, Minnesota. They're completely virtual. He's taking his kids, they're leaving tomorrow, they're going to Arizona, they're going to live out there for the next 6 weeks. And it's a joke, right? They're going to do virtual school, it's going to be pass-fail, but it may not help that kid. That student is not going to be anywhere near where my 8th grader is from an educational level. But when it comes down to a college saying who's that, they didn't hurt themselves. I just want to make sure we're not hurting our kids because we're here and not getting them the normal.
One thing I've always said about COVID is it's made everything more creative, and I think the other schools can speak to how their schedule has been much more creative to try to combat some of those concerns as well. So Allison had pointed out previously, prior to this year, at Parkside we had a modified block schedule. So the kids actually have 4 sessions of each core class a week because they start each day with a different class. So they only have math 4 days a week. It was for 70 minutes. Now they have classes with Wednesday off. It's 4 days a week. It's just a shorter amount of time, 55 minutes. So again, I look at it as, it is a disadvantage. You know, it breaks my heart that our kids are not learning as much as I think we could. But we've been more creative to try to fill in those gaps.
I'd also like to add, this morning I made a point to talk with Powell actually specifically, and I made a point to talk with Bridget the other day. You know, we're implementing a new middle school math curriculum, you know, trying to keep tabs on how they're going. We're getting them unit overviews with Wisconsin Mathematics Council once a month, and to talk about how we're doing and how we're creatively still getting through the curriculum. And we're right on pace with where we should be, given the timeline for a typical year with our math curriculum at the middle school. And that's partly props to our teachers looking at, you know, what problems can we combine, what lessons, you know, can we pull into the next to keep that learning going at the appropriate pace. And that's kudos to our staff and who they reached out to and how they've creatively planned that. And so I think staff are working to make as much of that happen as possible. I asked Pat in algebra, for example, I said, where are you at in terms of where you would typically be at? And he said, I'm actually 2 weeks ahead of where I was last year. And I think that's naturally because this situation has created a sense of urgency, right? And when we have that class time with kids, you know, some of those things that maybe could get trimmed are, you know, we're taking that time, we're doing as much as we can with it, you know, and it's working, you know, from bell to bell. And so I think we can look at it and say we're cutting a day, but I think you'd be pleasantly surprised to know kind of where in some of those areas. I just use middle school math because I had those conversations today.
Sure.
Of just kind of how we're adapting and making up for those differences in the way that the year looks. And like,
so you're thinking that we're maybe closer to 100% than 80% delivery, at least in that single.
In terms of pulling out the essential content, and I know it's hard for us to compare, you know, because obviously we're using a new book and a new grade. I'm looking back at Bridget because she's our 7th grade math teacher, but you know, when we look at what that curriculum says, where we should be on pace, you know, what that map looks like, we're where we need, at least in the middle school math, we're where we need to be. And I think, you know, overall, you know, our teachers are doing that, right? I think like Caitlin said, we're pulling out where we can and where we feel like we have liberty to. But you know, our teachers are really working hard to give the kids what they need to be successful.
And I think maybe in middle school, you know, your block scheduling, maybe that was an advantage moving in because I know just from having a child there that most of the class time was instructional time, but then maybe the last few minutes of class were in class time to do your work, and then, had the opportunity to ask questions, but, the students maybe had less homework because of that 70-minute class period where they maybe weren't being taught or lectured for 70 full minutes. Now maybe they're being lectured for 55.
Yeah, and I think that's partly the point that Allison's making too, is there may be potentially less opportunities to give some of that guided work and feedback. There's still that in class, but maybe less of that. And I think that's where that feedback that they're giving staff, that actual feedback that they're able to give on the Wednesdays, where they're able to have that time to really analyze student work and communicate with kids individually, is kind of that helpful buffer and that useful time to kind of transition into where do I need to take these kids the second half of the week. So I feel like
it's good to hear. It's just, I'm glad to hear that I suspected you were having fruitful conversations about this, and again, it's concerns that I hear throughout the community. Some are presented negatively, some are presented positively. I hear all kinds of odd things, and but I'm always supportive of the staff on the community, and I truly believe that we have a great staff in place. So this has been, I think, productive, and I hope that people are watching or paying attention, people that are concerned that this conversation we're having should alleviate some of those concerns at least. So.
I think it's back in the high school and to in Ross. I know there's been a lot of conversations Doug and I have had with staff about it being a year of just adapting, like you had said, versus expecting. So they're getting through it, kind of like Caitlin said, but they're not assessing on those skills a lot of times, where they may have assessed on it. But at the same time, they're also challenging the mindset of kids of making sure they're growing. So you're here and your writing's here maybe, but here's the next level you need to go to. So it's not just that am I getting through the material, it's here's where you're at and here's where you get to the next and the next, and growing in every area and learning more versus just getting through it. But focus is really just on growing as a student and finding their own learning and personalizing it themselves and saying I need to grow in this area in each of my academic areas that they're looking at.
I think the point that you made of being on schedule for curriculum is extremely important. At least then you'll be able to gauge your student when they test, and when you have to evaluate them to see where they stand compared to a normal year. At least you'll know where to go with that from that point. Good job.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you for all of your input. Item 5, discussion only, the WASD virtual state convention interest.
So I did some research, and the videos are going to be available for the whole year, so you can go in whenever you want and watch any of them. And Adam signed up already because he's going to be our delegate, alternate, but he's going to serve as a delegate. So if anybody's interested, we're going to have to do it soon. So just let me know when I can find it. You can sign me up. Okay.
Yes, sign me up also. Item 6, District Administrator Report, distribution of the proposed 2021-2022 school calendar.
I know you can't wait for 21-22,
right?
Almost
Agreed.
Yeah, so it's that time of year, again, just distributing this tonight, and then we can vote on it in the January meeting. Some things that you see that might be a little bit different with target-based grading on the forefront as we look to next year, and more to come obviously this spring as we get closer to the finality of that structure. Of having the high school parent-teacher conference at 9 weeks and at 27 weeks, because their grades will be semester grades, and so rather than doing it at 5 weeks and then in February, there's a lot more work if you're focused on how a student is performing, especially at the high school level, at that 9 and 27 week period. K-8 will still have the typical parent-teacher conferences. Again, the admin team is working very hard on work and people skills. So again, we have target-based grading on academic skills, and then we have work and people skills, which we're giving equal weight because we see the importance, as Ross stated, about what colleges are looking at. There was the research that just came out that I shared with you on Edutopia about work and people skills have a strong correlation to student performance in college. And so we see the value of that, not only in college, but also we have some other plans in place about how to use it with employers in the community and things of that sort. And so those skills will be focused on more early in the parent-teacher conferences, because after 5 weeks academically, you don't really have a good look at K-8, where kids are at. But I tell you what, you can probably comment on their work and people skills fairly certain right at that time. So that's a little bit of a change as far as parent-teacher conferences, trying to use it to the benefit of the student and the family. You also know, if you notice at the beginning of the school year, the really light green on August 16th, 17th, and 18th is new teacher. Then we would bring the teachers in. We would have all teachers or all educators in the 19th through the 26th. Then the staff would get a break on that Friday, and really Monday, Tuesday, before they would have to come back and work on Wednesday. So, you know, we hit them hard there in August, and we know how stressful that sometimes that's a lot, hot and heavy before the year starts. They would get a nice 5-day break there before the school year starts to regroup and get ready. And you know where they're all going to be anyways, they're going to be in the classroom. But at least it'll be on their terms. And it gives them that little rest before we start the school. We can't start before September 1st anyways. So that's where we're at. But yeah, those are the two major, let's say, changes that we've had in previous schedules.
Tom, does the spring break affect the start of spring sports? We always try to honor all kids that have a spring break. We've always had an issue of a couple of sports start and those kids really can't enjoy that time off. Do we look at that at all?
Yeah, I mean, either way you do it, even if you started the week before, you're still going to hit track. So we just went that first week in March. We tried to get away from a little bit from the parent-teacher conferences too, because then you have people who just don't show up to school for a couple weeks. And so we were trying to avoid that also, to give a little bit of break. And it also does fall on the ACT, the 7th through the 11th. But we're going to, we still have 2 other times we can take the ACT, like emergency time. So your question, answering your question, well, it really doesn't matter where you do it in March. You're going to at least hit one sport. Usually it's just track. This may be, actually, you know what, because it's February, that may just be track only on the 7th through the 11th.
So would there be a possibility to move it the week before so that it doesn't, I mean, can you just look into that a little bit?
Yeah, we could.
We always kind of wanted to have it be an opportunity for all kids to have that break. We just feel that break is healthy for all the kids, and we just look into that, please.
Yeah, we could look to see when sports start.
We would run into state hoops and basketball in that first week in March for sure. If we have that situation, yeah. Or state wrestling, yeah.
Is your August dates, are those correct on here? You've got the 24th as agreed, but on the other side here, you got 24th as Riverview 4K open house.
Oh yeah, that one should be,
And then there's nothing on the other side for the 26th.
yeah, you're right, Karen. The 24th should be brown, and the 25th should be brown, and the 26th should be green. Good catch, Karen.
Here you go.
No worries, we'll look at that spring break and bring those back and make the changes, Karen, on the 24th and 26th.
Then we'll go over it next month at the meeting, right?
Yeah, that's when you'll vote.
Good. Any other comments now? If not, item K, board suggested future agenda items for the monthly meeting on Monday, January 11th, right back here at 6:15. Anybody have anything to suggest at this point? If not, please advise anytime before then. Item L, adjourn to closed executive session for a session before the governmental body pursuant to the exceptions for closed sessions under Wisconsin Statute 19.851C and F for the purposes of considering the employment of an employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, including the medical or personal history of such employee. Governmental body may reconvene in open session for action, as appropriate, regarding the matter discussed in closed session and/or to adjourn. So we'll need a roll call from the clerk.
Nicole, would you like to
Sure. Adam Penning?
Yes.
Barry Metropola?
Yes.
Karen Bianski?
Yes.
Ryan Dusky?
Yes.
Ross Peterson?
Yes.
Nicole Lear? Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned.
good, Eric?
Okay, we're back in open session here. Item M, approve the request by a support staff employee for an unpaid medical leave of absence. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the absence and requested for January 2nd coverage.
I'll second it.
Motion by Barry, second by Nicole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. Seems like we have 4 yes, 2 no. So motion passes. Need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.